All right, we are recording. We are live. So welcome to WHIN, Women's Health and Nutrition. Tonight is November 30th, 2015, and we are here talking about several things. So we know that we just came off the Thanksgiving holiday, so now it's important to weighed a few people tonight, and some people were up, some people were down. And, it's really kind of nose to the grindstone now. We're like, oh my God, we're heading into the holidays, and cookies and wine and cake and pies and candy canes and candy, whatever you can come up with is in store for you for the next month. So I would imagine those of you on the webinar or listening to it later after the fact are concerned about the same thing that all of us raise our hand to, and that is making it through the holidays and controlling snacking, eating, imbibing, whatever it is we're doing, and trying to stay in fairly good shape and not lose all the great work we've done over the whole year of 2015, starting with Red Dress campaign and into the spring and then summer and heading into the fall with all our great semi-private TRXs that we've been doing and Bozu balance training, and there's been so many things that have been going on here at the club over 2015. We're very proud and happy about that. But at any rate, welcome to Women's Health and Nutrition. If you're here for the first time, if you've been with us for WHIN before in various different formats, welcome back. This is the new and improved WHIN. I'm going to actually start from the beginning here. Hi, Joe Beth. How are you? Good to see you. I see people are still logging on. So everything's being recorded, so if you missed anything, no worries. We can always go back and hear it again later. So this is the new and improved 21st Century Women's Health and Nutrition. If you haven't ever been a part of WHIN, then you don't know the difference between what it was when we were here, weighing people and chatting here in the cafe, versus giving you a chance to make sure you have any night of the week you want to work out, and then you can listen to our little presentation either at home in your jammies, having your supper or what have you, or listening in to the recording later on at your own convenience. So what is it going to be? Just a recap for those. I apologize if you were here on the last. We had quite a few people on the webinar on December 1st, I think it was. But here we are. People still logging on. So hi, Meg. So at any rate, what is the new WHIN going to look like? It's weekly weigh-ins, and we've been doing that for all of November. We'll continue it through December and on into after the holidays into the new year 2016. And that some of the days might change, but for now, our weigh-ins are Monday nights from 4 to 8, Friday mornings from 6:30 a.m. to noon time, and Saturdays from 7 a.m. to noon time. And we basically, and actually I'm hearing some feedback. Anybody, hopefully, if you've never been on a webinar, folks, before, just make sure that you mute yourself so we can't hear any background noise as people come onto the call. Okay, all right, there we go. Somebody must have had something. Thank you, whoever that was. We're not sure. And again, just if you need to ask a question, there'll be some question and answer time. All you'll do is type into the box down below with a little pencil, and you can ask a question, and then I'll unmute yourself, and if you'd like to jump in, we can hear your voice. So it's kind of a neat concept. So while I'm on that topic, so we'll be doing 1 to 2 webinars a month. I may just do one for the month of December. I'm not sure. I do have a date, but as we get closer to the holidays, it's sometimes tougher to get people on that call. So I might do one in December, and then we'll pick right up with 2 again in January. That's why I wrote 1 to 2 per month. And those webinars are for support and education, so there'll be various topics. As we get on in the webinar tonight, I'll tell you what we're going to tackle in December or mid-December, December 14th, when the next webinar takes place. We do all kinds of things: stress eating. We have nutrition guidance. We talk about exercise topics. We talk about menopause. We talk about Robin's done some beautiful presentations on cardiac health. Endless, on and on and on. We've had special guest speakers come in, and I may not be the only speaker. You're going to hear others jump in and do some of the presentations to these webinars. I'm just kind of starting off and getting the ball rolling. So with these first few webinars we've been doing. So, and while I'm on, I do want to say hello to Robin Cusick, who's out there as well. She is, I don't know if she's muted because she's always afraid of Colby and Rudder barking in the background.
I unmuted myself to say hi to everybody. Welcome.
Thank you, Rob. I'm just busting you. So anyway, so Robin's here with me too, and I'm sure Robin will be doing a lot of the webinars as we go on as well. So, all right. So in order to get the full value of WHIN, Women's Health and Nutrition, I'm going to ask you each week to make 2 commitments to yourself. And those who have been successful or most successful have been those who have made these 2 exercise and nutrition commitments to themselves weekly. And they don't have to be anything crazy. It can be simply, I'm going to drink 1 more bottle of water each day. I'm going to get to 1 more cardio a week at the gym, or I'm going to walk outside for 20 minutes at lunch. Your nutrition commitments can be, I'm going to eat a banana every morning for, breakfast instead of a oatmeal cookie. Oh, that's me. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, it is me. Or you're going to eat a little bit more vegetables. You're going to try to eat, more green leafy vegetables, so on and so forth. So it doesn't have to be anything like, I'm never going to have another cookie, or I'm going to exercise 7 days a week, or I'm going to run a marathon. I mean, all those are obviously great commitments to make, but it doesn't have to be that incredibly lofty. So keep them simple and stick to them, and you'll have more chance of success. So if you come to the webinars, make sure you get your weigh-ins if weight loss is one of your goals, and make your commitments to yourself each week. There's just no way that you're not going to be successful. Again, it's all about goal setting. So try to be part of the monthly webinars. I'll be honest with you, if you can get on the webinar live, it makes a big difference. You can ask your questions. Maybe some of the topics tonight may not be as question-oriented, and the last webinar I did too weren't as question-oriented. I was asking questions and you were filling in your notebooks. Probably next webinar, when we get to calories and sodium and all of that, there may be some questions that you'll definitely have. So if you can be on the actual webinar, you get to ask a question. If you listen to it recorded, obviously, you've missed that opportunity. So the format will be presentation, about 20 or 30 minutes, information, which I'm doing right now, sometimes interactive. The last webinar we did a few weeks ago, I asked you to answer some questions on a piece of paper, or I would prefer that you have a notebook or journal. As you know, those of you that have done large group formats with me, and even Skinny Jeans, the smaller group formats, I always make you keep a bound notebook. I prefer that you do that rather than just answering things on a piece of paper and then it ends up on your desk blotter somewhere, or if you're on a laptop and now you moved your office somewhere else in your house. You want to keep these journal or the actual questions that you answer in a journal, because sometimes you go back to these things. I always tell this funny story about my sister. She's not on the call right now, but I gave a presentation when we first started large group in 2012. Can you imagine that? It's almost 4 years ago. And a year later, we had another, I gave the same presentation. And it was about stressors, which we're going to talk about tonight. And Sean said, I just want to let everyone know that the stressors I had in 2012 in January are the same stressors I have tonight in January of 2013. But anyway, so it's good sometimes to look back and see if anything's changed, or if sadly some things are the same, so on and so forth. So we like to see that growth, those patterns, because it's in those patterns that real work can be done if you really take the time to answer questions that I may ask of you in some of these webinars. So 20 to 30 minutes, questions and answers with the speaker, whoever it may be. Tonight it's me. Sharing time, if applicable. It's not always, that won't always be, but we may go around the group if there aren't a ton of people on the call and ask questions or ask if anyone wants to jump in. So be ready for that too. Okay, don't be afraid though. Tonight's focus is stress eating. I would imagine most of you can raise your hand to stress eating at some point in your life. We're going to try to take a look at some patterns tonight and figure out why exactly you might be stress eating. What are the stressors? What are the times that you eat? So on and so forth. What's making you eat? The 3 reasons why we eat. And we'll go from there. We'll try to identify patterns of behavior. I notice I put we in red, the patterns of behavior we set for ourselves, because we do all the setting. There's no doubt about that. We set the times we eat. We set, our jobs. We set our needs, and then, those patterns kind of get set up based on you know, the lifestyles that we choose to lead. You know, and people say to me all the time, well, you know, I have to have a job, I have to make money, I have to, you know, pay my mortgage, blah, 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 and all that stuff that we know we have to do. Yes, that is true. But the means to which we get to all those things, or the, you know, the types of jobs we take, the places where we live, the lifestyles that we choose to lead are in fact choices. So, you know, make sure that we do understand that. And we'll get to that later. And of course, I always try to come up with a plan. So tips to try to conquer some of the stressful eating during the holidays and in general as we go forward into the new year 2016. So that's where we're headed tonight, okay? All right. And, you know, like I said, feel free to type into the question box if anyone has anything. You know, don't wait till the end. If you need something that, you know, strikes your fancy right away. Recap from last week if you weren't here, and I know a couple of you I see on the call were not here. So recap, not from last week, it's actually the last webinar I should have wrote. Continuing to explore and question how you feel about yourself. What do you like and dislike, and why? So those are going to be the basis from where we're going to go with stress eating. Because if you can't identify the things you like and the things that you are struggling with yourself, then we can't really go too much further. We need to question, explore how you feel about your life in and of itself, as it is right now. Not the life you want to lead, or the life that you think people want you to lead, or the life that you had 25 years ago, for that matter, but the life you have right now, right here today. And of course, we went into, I asked you questions last time about what makes you smile, what makes you happy. So, you know, if you didn't look at that, or you didn't get a chance to do that, you might want to take a look at the link to the last webinar and take a look at the very questions that I did ask and go through the answers if you haven't already done that. Some of you may, and actually I talked to some of you as we went along. About 7 of you wrote back to me after the last webinar and told me that you really did do the work, and you know, we really got you thinking. So that always makes me happy, makes me smile. Your givens, if you've worked with me before, you know that I'm a big proponent of knowing why we do things. It's not enough to say I need to lose 25 pounds, I need to lose weight. It's about knowing the real why of why you want to lose weight. You know, grandchildren, children, a job, elderly parents you're taking care of. Why is it that you need to be healthy, other than the obvious that, you know, you need to be healthy? But what are the reasons you get up every morning, your givens? And then, of course, your biggest struggles. So you need to tell me, or you need to think about it to tell me, but you need to really be thinking about all of these things as they come into play in your life, so that we can talk about what your stressors are tonight, and then, of course, your patterns of eating. So some of the things that we talked about on that last webinar. All right, struggles versus stressors. Big difference here, okay? I want you to understand the difference between struggles and stressors. So we did talk about your biggest struggles in that first webinar, because those are often the things that are larger than us. They're often the ongoing pieces of our lives, and oftentimes they're the things that make us feel overwhelmed. So examples. Struggles would be, you know, let me try to think of particular things that clients tell me, obviously without using names, but struggles would be more, you know, I have to find a better way to deal with my relationship with my spouse. Or my relationship with my brother, or what have you, an uncle, or what have you. So that would be the struggle. Okay, you know you're struggling in, let's say, a relationship. Stressors are the smaller pieces of our daily lives that crop up and make us feel edgy. So you know you have a struggle, but your stressors are the things that suddenly make you snap sometimes, and you go back to, you know, this overwhelming feeling that you're in this daily struggle. So the stressors are the smaller pieces, and oftentimes we look for comfort away from them. So if we have a stressor, we look for comfort to appease that stressful situation that oftentimes comes from a larger struggle. Okay, so understand the difference here and what I'm talking about. Okay, struggles are bigger things. Stressors are the tinier pieces of the daily life that tend to make us think of our bigger struggles. Okay, and again, you can count relentless examples of what stressors would be. All right, some items to consider. So I want you to take a look at, again, we talked about any number of stressors, because those are the smaller things sometimes that set us off thinking about our bigger struggles in life. But I want you to try to identify your big 3 stressors. So if you have your notebook out or you have your phone, wherever you take notes, I want you to take a minute and list your 3 biggest stressors, okay? So it might be, you have a bigger struggle with, a spouse, or I'm just going to use it what I said before, a brother or a family member of some type, and your stressors are you've got too much to do at work and you're just feeling overwhelmed. Okay, so that you're thinking about what are some of the things that stress you out. Okay, so take a minute. 1, 2, 3, very, very important. Now, some of you may have a toilet paper roll of stressors, things that tend to set you off throughout the day. But try to think of the things that set you off the most. Let's put it that way. And I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of a hint here. Do they revolve around certain times of the day? Certain times of night? Are you doing particular things when some of these stressors crop up? So we're always looking for patterns here, because there always are patterns. That's the key. And then we're going to take a look at eating and snacking, because that's where we're going tonight, obviously. It's stress eating, right? If you're having trouble, or you think you're going to have trouble when there's a pattern to your eating, think about the actual times of day or night that you eat or snack. Now, I wrote the word snack here, but I'm meaning eating in general, okay? And once again, what types of foods attract you? So are you salty? Are you sweet? Something crunchy? Something smooth? I want ice cream. I want nuts. I need something. I need potato chips. I need a cookie after I eat. All these types of things that I hear. And again, whoops, let me just go back for 1 minute. Again, you're looking for patterns. So do your stressors and your eating go together? You're looking at different times of day that one or the other happen, or both. So take a minute with this. And again, if you don't want to do it now, you can listen to me and then go back to this slide later in the recording. So the natural question becomes, is there any relationship between eating and snacking and your stress? And I think many of you, see where I'm going here. That of course there's a relationship. Okay, most of us definitely raise our hand to say an overwhelming yes on that one. I think it's very rare that there isn't a relationship between bad eating and stress sometimes. Or eating in general. I won't even say bad eating. I'm not even going to qualify it that way. So let's take it a step back a little bit. And some of you have been with me before with WHIN, and you know that I'm a big proponent of there's only really 3 reasons why we eat. Here they are. If you're out there and you've heard me say this 1,000 times, say it with me: craving, hunger, or habit. Okay, those are really only the 3 reasons why we eat. And people come at me all the time, oh, well, I eat because of blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, but anything you can come up with for reasons why you eat or snack, either way you're eating, fits into one of these 3 categories. Okay, try to think of a reason why you would eat that doesn't fit under, wouldn't be a subset of any one of these categories. Okay, so with that said, let's try to bring stress and eating together here. Okay, first of all, if it's craving, oftentimes it can be associated with fatigue, exhaustion, overscheduling. And of course, none of these things happen around the holidays, right? None of them. Right? excuse me, nobody's tired, right? Nobody's exhausted from shopping and cooking and cleaning and overnight guests, or maybe traveling yourself, going to your relatives' houses across the country, so on and so forth, generally overscheduling ourselves. Oftentimes cravings can be hormone related too, so be careful, gals. I'm sure that, most of us at some point in our lives have had issues, with hormone-related cravings, no matter where we are, what age, and where we are in our cycles. But acknowledge and watch your portions. So know that sometimes, it could be a hormone-related piece where we're craving, and that is an actual physiological reaction, a craving from hormones. I won't get into all that because I actually have a whole other presentation on hormones, which I've done for some of you here in the cafe. About hormones and how they work in our body. But if it's hunger, eat. I mean, obviously, if you're hungry, I had someone say to me after the last webinar, after on a certain night of the week, I do a couple of classes, I double, and then I come home and I'm just ravenous. I just want to eat and eat and eat, and I'm not really sure if I'm eating. I think I'm hungry, but it might even be that, I'm craving. I can't really determine. But I said to this person, well, you probably burned a ton of calories. You probably are hungry. So that's perfectly fine. You've done 2 massive classes, weightlifting and then a dance class. So, if you're burning 1,000 calories, you need to replace those calories. So certainly eat. But, and here's where we're going for the next webinar, consider the types of calories, proteins versus carbohydrates, and also consider the sodium content. Oftentimes when we're snacking, not having something to eat at night for a meal, we can often reach for things that are high sodium. So be careful of that. And more on this in the next webinar on December 14th. So we'll get into the nuts and bolts of that. So be careful if you're hungry and you're in a rush or you're on the road. The quickness of our snacks and our eating can dictate that the grab and goes can be high in sodium. So that's all I'm trying to say. So be careful. It's kind of tough to have a chicken breast on the go, right? Or a can of tuna while you're driving along in the car. Please, don't be unsafe. So again, you want to make sure that your grab and go when you're hungry are, also a good calorie mix. Now, if it's habit, and here's where the holiday stuff comes in. If it's habit, you really have to start exploring the why of your habitualness of the eating. I've got snacking, but it's eating as well. Also, look at the whole day of food as you reach for, I use the word snack here because we're talking about stress eating, and that often is blind eating. You're sitting at a table with a bunch of people that you either don't know, or you're at the bar somewhere at a restaurant. It's your husband's Christmas party, and oh my God, you can't stand any of the people he works with. And I'm just making this up, of course. But and now you're sitting around with a bunch of people you don't like, so you just keep digging into those pretzels and the crackers and cheese or what have you that's in that big buffet table, and you got a glass of wine in your hand, and you just blah, 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 and you can't even stand any of these people. So you're just blindly eating. So be careful of these types of things. But again, look at the whole day of food as you reach for something to eat. So, if you might have a bad time where you just snack at a given point of one day, don't worry about it as much as if you're doing it all the time. Like, let's say you're a teacher and you come home at 3:30, 4 o'clock, and you always have a huge snack, and then you have supper. So, make sure that if you come home and you're having a snack, is it because you're hungry, or is it just because that's what you've always done at that given time? So if you're hungry, certainly, like I said, eat. But if it's a habit and you always eat at this time, and you start reaching for a bag of popcorn or potato chips or pretzels or salsa and chips and a glass of wine, and then you're going to go on and have a big dinner afterwards, then make sure you start to look at, again, is it stress related? Habits can often be stress related. You come home, you're tired, you've been teaching all day, you had a rough day. For whatever reason, certainly, we have a lot of teachers out there, and I've been a teacher myself, so I certainly know that. It can be extremely stressful. But take a look at exactly what you're feeling as you reach for any given snacks or foods that you might consider not the best choices. Obviously, holidays are huge times when this type of stress eating and habitual eating can happen. You know, when I go to my Aunt Mabel's house, she always serves the cheese dip and, you know, the crackers with the jelly and blah, blah, blah. And then I just eat, you know, tons of that. And then it's time to eat and I, you know, can barely even eat, but I have another, you know, I have a piece of pie and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, make sure that you're looking at the reasons why you're eating. Craving, hunger, or habit. There's only 3 reasons why you eat, okay? So if you can keep those things in mind at any given time, then you can be a little bit more cognizant of where your patterns of badness, so to speak, for lack of a better word, are with your eating. So craving, hunger, or habit. Save these slides, go back to them, take a look at them, and I'm going to ask you for your homework between now and the next webinar to, when you seem like you're spiraling out of control with eating, ask yourself, why are you eating right now? Why? You're hungry? Is it a craving? You're trying to satisfy something? Or is it just part of what you normally do at this time with these people, you know, or people that you don't know, what have you? All right, questions so far? We're hanging in there. I'm almost done. Okay. A few tips for holiday eating. So where are we taking this? If you look at what stresses you out, and then you look at your eating patterns, or maybe you never thought of craving, hunger, or habit. Maybe you just eat blindly. You never thought about the reasons why you eat. But let's put everything together and talk about how we're going to take care of holiday eating if it's a problem for you. Know your stressors and treat them as such. Know them. Identify them. Why do you think I just had you write them down? Know the things that make you start to lose control emotionally, because 10 to 1 eating goes along with that. Breathe. How many times during the day, and I raise my hand to this as well, how many times during the day do you sit and you're hunched over your desk and you're engaged in something, you're on the phone with somebody, blah, blah, you're mad about something, and you don't even if you're not mad, you're just not even breathing, or you're shallow breathing. Sit back and just take a deep breath in and blow it out. Let your shoulders actually relax. And this is where I'm going to give a shameless plug for my sister here, yoga class. You know, we've got yoga classes, we've got body flow classes, some Tai Chi, all kinds of positions. But what's the most important part of the yoga and all of that, and especially the Tai Chi, is the breath, the actual cleansing nature of the breath. So breathe. It's kind of obvious to tell you to breathe, but we hold our breath all day. I see it with clients all day as we're going through emotions. When things get hard, what do? We hold our breath. When we're doing something, you know, I'm working out with people, and I catch them daily holding their breath. So, you know, when things get hard, we hold our breath. Remember that. So relax, keep breathing. Take a moment, slow down. I talked to quite a few people in my strength and stretch class on Wednesday mornings. Another shameless plug for classes. Sorry. Anyway, don't laugh, Robin. Be present. We're not present as often as we need to. We're always thinking about what we have to do, or what we did yesterday, or how so-and-so feels, or oh, what I said, and now how is he or she thinking about that? Who, you know, I've got to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to fly here, and I'm going to drive there, and I'm going to cook this, and blah, blah, blah. It's endless, endless. Be present. Stop yourself from thinking about the next moment and be where you are right now. Because when you can be where you are right now in this very moment, which is another part of yoga practice, meditation, you can start to identify why you're stressed, and oftentimes put that food down that you don't necessarily need, that snack type of food. Okay, so be present, breathe, slow down. Stop and listen. And here's the key, to others and to ourselves. When I say stop and listen, I made listen big letters here. Listen, because we need to listen to what others really want in our lives, not just what we want for the people around us. You know, we tend always, especially women, we were all, you know, many of us are moms or mother figures, and we always want to mother people around us. We don't really listen to people. We want to project what we think is best for them onto them, and that doesn't always work. So stop, listen, and just don't say anything. Just listen. Try to hear what someone's saying to you. That will often make you relax a little bit too, and will tend not to tell or carry stories around. Some of you know what I mean by this. Carry stories around about interpersonal relationships with those that are most important in our lives. So listen to what people really are saying to you. And again, be present. Don't be thinking ahead to what you need to say to them to react. Just be present. To ourselves, listen to ourselves. How often do we're always on, that goes hand in hand with be present. We're running. We don't listen to our bodies. Sometimes we need to stop. We need to rest. We might need to eat. We're hungry. We need some water. We need to hydrate. We need to stretch. All of these things. We need to slow down. So tips for holiday eating. Here's the stressor side, right? And now let's talk about the eating. So know why you're eating. Going back to what I just said, 3 reasons: craving, hunger, or habit. So know your stressors, know why you're reaching for things. If you're hungry, yeah, eat. But just make sure you're eating the right foods, quote unquote. And we'll talk about that on our next webinar. Watch your portion sizes. I mean, sometimes we go to these holiday gatherings or we go out to eat often. We tend to be out with big parties all the time, or often even into the new year. It's great to eat whatever you want. And to be honest, as a trainer, I'm a huge proponent of that. I can tell you for 6 days straight or 6 months straight, you need to eat broccoli, you need to eat bok choy, you need to eat blah, blah, blah. But if you don't like broccoli and bok choy, you're not going to eat it. So you've got to pick things. And now, granted, I'm not going to, tell you to eat Oreos because that's what you like, but you shouldn't deprive yourself of anything. We should be able to eat anything we want, truly, within reason, if we're watching our portion size. It's okay to have an Oreo, but where we go wrong is with the whole sleeve of Oreos. It's okay to, have cake, but do we need to have a, piece of cake the size of our head? It's okay to, have a glass of wine, but if you're going to have a bottle of wine, then that, every night, then obviously there are many other issues with that too, especially if you're out and about driving around. But so have what you want, eat what you want, but just know why you're eating and watch your portions if you can. Try not to deprive yourself. It pains me when I hear people say, oh my God, Carrie, I need to lose weight. I'm just not going to eat any sweets. I've cut everything out. I'm not eating any bread. I don't eat anything unless you have a gluten allergy. I don't ever really want to hear that from people because it doesn't make any sense in a larger sense of your well-being. I mean, no one wants to not eat anything they don't like to eat. We do want to eat things that taste good to us, that attract us. So, with that said, eat what you like, but watch the portion sizes, obviously. Watch alcohol. Again, as I said a minute ago, that's another area where people tend to I want to say, I don't want to use the word go wrong, but they tend to disregard. People don't think of alcohol as calories. And, if you're going home every night and you're having a glass or 2 of wine every night, you're pretty much having a piece of cake every night. So, and that, hey, if your body can handle a piece of cake every night, okay. But, just make sure that you understand there are calories involved in alcohol. So, not to mention other issues that surround alcohol. But so be careful. That's kind of the silent piece that people tend to take off the table and, they don't really talk too much about as far as their diet and nutrition. So we always ask about that when we're talking about that with clients. So, what's the alcohol level? And, sometimes people are honest with you and sometimes they're not. So be honest with yourself there. If that's an issue, then, try to, make sure that you're keeping track of that. Don't be afraid to bring your own food to gatherings. I often tell people this. If you know that Aunt Mabel doesn't believe in vegetables or salad, and that's what you really like to eat, then, bring something along and, just say, hey, I'm going to bring a big salad and, wouldn't that be great? And, if Aunt Mabel has a problem with you bringing a salad, then, hey, it is what it is. She'll get over it. So, but don't be afraid to bring your own foods that you need that make you healthy. So, I hear stories all the time of folks who, I had a client who a few years back was of Portuguese descent, and she said, Carrie, the Portuguese people, and I'm a quarter Portuguese, so I know, the Portuguese people get together, she said, they don't believe in vegetables, they don't believe in salads, it's carb, and what carb do you want to go with the carb, okay? And a little bit of, you're going to get some steak and some shrimp and some chicken, but with that, you're going to have a carb with your carb. So if you have these types of ethnic excuse me, holiday gatherings, and you know that you don't want rice and fries and potatoes and a little piece of chicken. You'd like some carrots and broccoli and maybe a salad, then bring it along. Don't be afraid to do that. Know yourself, okay? Probably the most important one, loving yourself. Know yourself and love yourself. Love yourself as is. This is probably one of the biggest themes. I could do a whole webinar on this one. I'm not going to go crazy tonight, but you have to love something about yourself. And that's why the last webinar I asked you, what makes you happy? What makes you smile? There's got to be something in your life that makes you smile, no matter how small. Something that relaxes you. So, learn to love things about yourself. I said it in the last webinar, don't let your so-called failures or the places where you think you failed define your whole existence. Because then you just get into this bad spiral again that creates stresses and major struggles. So we all fail. We all have issues in our lives. We all are working through things, but we're all people. We're all human. And we all need to love something about ourselves, okay? Yes, there can be things that we are working on, but we have to learn to love something about ourselves at any given time, okay? And it's going to change from time to time, but it's imperative that you take it easy on yourself, okay? Especially around the holidays. Sometimes stressors can come up, patterns of old behavior and relationships come up, and it's okay. We're all human, okay? We all have struggles and stressors. So love yourself and be okay with that. Ellen DeGeneres always says, be kind to one another, but I'm adding to that, be kind to yourself too. Be kind to yourself. All right, questions. We've been at this for just about a half an hour. Any questions? Shoot them at me. Probably not a ton to ask tonight, but okay. If you want, again, you can just either raise your hand, put something in the question box, or unmute yourself and come on in. Okay. Robbie, anything you want to add? You still out there?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Nope, I think you covered quite a bit. I'll put a plug in for my spin class. We do work on breathing and how important it is to take care of ourselves and healthy snacking.
Yeah.
And then as far as tracking, I think a little food journal, a notebook, especially even just doing it for a couple of weeks, and it can help identify, like you said, times of the day or places you might be. You might mindfully snack at your desk if you have, like, say, candy or something in your drawer, or, if you walk through the lunchroom, or myself, it's coming in my door in the afternoon when I get out of work.
Yeah.
And coming into my kitchen. So I think if you can help identify your habits, then that's when you can ask yourself, is it the habit, craving, or hunger? But certainly honor hunger.
Yeah, no,
and
absolutely.
Those are just some helpful things that you talked about, and it's backed up in anything you ever read about any of these things. So.
And Rob, that's awesome, because thanks for that nice segue. So our next webinar topic is going to be about calories, and we're going to talk about means of tracking them as well. So it's perfect, okay? I want you all to know that calories are not all made alike, because people will tell you, oh, a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. If you eat less calories than you burn, then you'll just lose weight. Well, you will immediately, but over time, someone who's eating their calories in, Burger King or McDonald's food versus someone who's eating their calories in cleaner food is going to be better off in the long run. Okay, so
sure.
they're not all alike.
Cleaner food, you feel better. You have better energy as opposed to empty calories.
Right, exactly. Yep. So we're also going to explore calorie trackers, which Robin just talked about. So if you're not journaling, we can talk about MyFitnessPal, and I'd also like to talk about, well, that's actually food trackers, but Fitbits and the polar heart rate monitors. So if you have questions, or I know some of you are thinking about probably having family members get gifts for the holidays. People are asking me all the time lately about, what do I think of Fitbits? What do I think of heart rate monitors? Are they really accurate, yada, yada, yada. So we'll take a look at calorie trackers and begin the discussion about food tracking as well. And I know Robin alluded to the journal piece. So if you're not doing anything virtually with food trackers, and we'll talk about calorie trackers next week, then use a journal. Just write down what you eat.
Right.
Really, it's not that hard. And, take a look for the patterns, like Robin said. So the next webinar date, I'm sorry, before I forget, it's not on there, is it's 2 Mondays from now. I'm going to stick with Monday night because I think it's a good night. Monday at 8 p.m. again. So I will send that information out to all of the WHIN members. And if you have anyone that's interested in listening to the webinar, they can be anywhere in the United States. They don't necessarily have to be a member of the club. They can be anywhere in the world, really. Anyone can log on. So if you have a sister who lives in Idaho, or California, well, then she knows that she's in California. It's at 5 o'clock, her webinar, instead of 8 o'clock. But, obviously account for the time changes. But please let people know. Anyone's welcome to be on the webinar. We want to get some good discussions going and as we move forward in women's health and nutrition. So, homework, a couple things. I want you to start looking at your daily calories in your food intake. Now, if you have a tracker, if you don't have a tracker, you're not going to be able to do calories, but you certainly can start, like Robin said, doing food. So you can do B, but not A. And I think most of you out there, at least the people on this call right now that are here, although there'll be others listening to it later, do have some means of tracking calories. Okay, so we'll start there. You would not believe the people who, over the 20 years I've been training, will run by me and say, I want to lose 25 pounds. So, how do I do that? And I'm like, well, do you know what you burn for calories in a day? No. Okay, well, then how? That's where we got to start. Okay. So again, we're segueing into taking a look at some real nuts and bolts of types of calories, carbs versus proteins, and some little secret spots like sodium and sugar grams per day in milligrams and grams respectively, that can be culprits in not being able to lose weight. So start looking at your food. And here's the big one. Every time you struggle with stress eating, I want you to ask yourself, am I hungry? Am I craving? Or am I eating out of habit? So craving, hunger, or habit. Okay? Ask yourself. You can ask yourself this every time you actually put something in your mouth. It doesn't have to be what you think stress eating or eating at a at a party or something. Just ask yourself for the next week or two until the next webinar, why am I eating? Okay, I'm eating right now. I'm eating right now. I'm eating right now. Why am I eating? So ask yourself, craving, hunger, or habit, C, H, or H, okay? And start to look at patterns. That's, Robin just said to us a minute ago, we're trying to find patterns. We cannot solve the so-called puzzle of being healthier without finding out, what we need to change and where we need to change things in our daily life. Our stressors first, and then our food. And you notice I always go to the emotional piece first, because the emotions are what drive everything. If you've ever trained with me and any member of my staff, that we hit that hard, because it's not about we as trainers just giving you a diet and a workout, or a nutrition plan and a workout. Because once you're done, what have we really taught you? Listen, any trainer worth their medal can get a client to lose weight. That's the easy part. Getting people to stay healthy is the toughest part, the toughest, piece of the puzzle for clients and people that we work with. So you want to lose weight? I can get you to lose weight. I will get you to lose weight. It's a promise. It's a guarantee. But, getting you to keep the weight off and making some life changes is where the real work begins. Okay, and it starts with looking at yourself from the inside out. And then doing this work, the daily calories, the food, and once we look at the emotional piece, to move on and look at some of the more nuts and bolts of actual, things that we eat and calories that we burn. All right. Well, ladies, if there aren't any questions, again, I thank you all for being here. We had probably half a dozen of you on the call tonight. And again, this is being recorded, so if you felt like any of the slides you want to go back to, you will be able to see in the recording the slides as well as hear the presentation. So you will actually be able to see these slides. So, and I will load this up to YouTube in about 5 minutes, and those people that weren't able to make it on the call can take a look at it. So, all right, listen, I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, and I wish you a safe and restful next 2 weeks as we head closer to the holidays. You know how crazy that can be. So I hope to see all of you on Monday night, December 14th at 8 p.m. All right? All right,
Thanks, Terry.
Robin, thank you so much. Thanks for being out there, and everyone.
Okay, good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.